I hope our trajectory is going the way of women's basketball right now. I'm a huge women's basketball fan. It's been so amazing to see the sport or the all sports and under kind of the women's sports umbrella to just see it explode. What I really hope is that folks start seeing wheelchair basketball as a legitimate sport to invest in, that it's not a charity and that we're not something to be taken as like, oh, I want to support these disabled athletes. It's like, no, I want to support these disabled athletes because they're athletic and they deserve an opportunity to compete at the highest level. And they deserve an opportunity to have people watch them compete. And they deserve the opportunity to, be on TV or, whatever that looks like for our sport moving forward and whatever that investment looks like moving forward.
She is a part of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Hall of Fame class of 2025 as part of the 2004 women's wheelchair basketball team, which won its first gold medal in 22 years at the Athens 2004 Paralympic Games. She went on to coach future national teams in 2016 and in 2020, and she's also the head coach of the women's wheelchair basketball team at the University of Illinois. We have the pleasure in welcoming Stephanie Wheeler onto Hoopsology. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate your appearing on the show.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Before we dive into your extensive career, we have a bit of tradition on our show. We
Okay.
talk about the hottest topics within the basketball world, but we delve into basketball culture specifically. What makes the game so great? So answer this question any way you want it. What is your first or favorite basketball memory?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. Let's see. So I grew up in North Carolina. So, when you grow up in North Carolina, if you don't like basketball, I don't think you're allowed to stay in the state. So my first basketball memory actually is when the UNC women's basketball team won their first national championship in 1993. I was 12 years old and I remember watching it on TV. Charlotte Smith hit a three-pointer at the buzzer to win the national championship. And that's probably my first basketball memory where I got goosebumps and I just fell in love with the game, with the competition, with just the drama surrounding everything. So yeah, that's probably my first memory was watching UNC win the national championship.
So, can you discuss your origin story in terms of yes? Might be making an assumption here, but I would assume your love affair for the game of basketball and how that has evolved over time and having massive success throughout your entire life. Just kind of take us through your origin story, so to speak, materializing and not only you succeeding on the international level, but also on the coaching level as well.
Yeah, so I started wheelchair basketball found me when I was 12 years old. And someone randomly came up to me. They saw me using my wheelchair and they were like, have you ever heard of wheelchair basketball? Would you like to play? And I was like, no, I've never heard of it, but this sounds amazing. So I have to figure out a way to play. So I ended up at practice with the local youth team in North Carolina like a week later, and I never looked back from there. I think I've had a basketball in my hand pretty much every day since I was 12 years old. Um, I played on a local juniors team in North Carolina for throughout my high school, middle school career, and happened to go to a camp actually in Indiana the summer before my senior year of high school. And the coach of the University of Illinois was there, and he saw me play. I was like super raw talent. Like, you could tell maybe there was something there, but I just, I didn't know a lot about the game yet. And fortunately, he saw that and started recruiting me to come to the University of Illinois. And, my dream, as I told before, I'm a big UNC fan. So my dream was actually to wear Tar Heel blue. And I just had to change that dream a little bit and change the color a little bit to Illinois blue. Because at the time when I was being recruited to come to Illinois, it was the only place in the country that you could go to play women's wheelchair basketball at the collegiate level. The sport, hadn't grown past one college yet. So, after playing in high school, I love the game. I love competing. I love everything about basketball. I love with wheelchair basketball when you can smell the rubber of the tire burning. Like I love everything about the sport. And so there's no way I could see my life continuing without it. So I packed up. I left my tiny little town in North Carolina and moved to Champaign, Illinois. And Had an amazing career here at Illinois. I had amazing teammates, amazing coaches. We were really successful here, with a lot of our players actually making national teams. And while I was a student athlete here, this is actually where I made my first national team. Um, the training environment here was just so rich at that time with talent and with coaching talent and with pushing the game forward that, it was hard to not take all of that in and want to take it further. So I tried out actually for my first national team in 2000 for the Sydney Paralympic Games, and I was on the last round of cuts. So I was one cut away from making it to Sydney, and that just fueled me even more. I trained harder. I took all the knowledge I learned from getting to train with the national team back with me to just get better over the next couple of years. And then finally made my first national team in 2001. So obviously that's an off year from a Paralympic Games. I had some time to continue growing and then finally made my first Paralympic team in 2004, which is the team now that's going to be inducted into the USOPC Hall of Fame, which is super cool. Um, I had a long international career. I played until 2010, decided to retire after we won a world championship, which is the one thing some of my teammates and I hadn't been able to do yet. And at the time, I was actually just starting my coaching career. And my coach that I had at the University of Illinois, his name is Mike Frogley. And not only did he see potential in me as a player, but he saw potential in me as a coach. And so he started, when I was a student athlete here, he's actually started taking me to camps around the country and around the world to help him work and teach at those camps. He kind of lit the fire for teaching and a love for teaching and coaching underneath me as well. So when the job became available at U of I in 2009, I jumped on the opportunity to come back home to my alma mater and be able to lead this program, hopefully into some places that we haven't been before. So that's where my coaching career started, was in 2009. So my playing career and coaching career kind of overlapped a little bit. And then, as a player, I always knew I wanted to play at the highest level. And as a coach, I felt the same way. I wanted to coach at the highest level. And so I just started honing my craft and got the opportunity to coach our youth, our under 25 women's national team. And then fortunately was hired to be able to coach our senior national team in 2013. So that love came from a deep love for the game of basketball first, and then a deep love for the game of wheelchair basketball. And then it's just grown and evolved from there.
Can you discuss how much effort goes into being a Paralympian? I guess I believe when viewers are watching the Paralympics or the Olympics, I don't think they understand just how much effort it takes to just participate, let alone just winning a medal, just being there. So can you walk our audience into just the everyday routine from trying to make the team, then being on the team, preparing for the Olympics, then, going to the actual event, competing on the international level. Just what is that like, I think, compared to other forms of competition that you have experienced?
Yeah. I mean, it's if, we train just as hard, just as long, at just a high level as Olympians do. So for me, I was in the gym 5 to 6 days a week doing my basketball training. I had strength and conditioning training. What I love right now about where the Paralympic movement is going is it's involving to include more of like your sport nutrition and all of the sports psychology and all of the other really important pieces that surround the physical training that you do on court or in the gym. But yeah, I was in the gym every single day, a couple hours on court and then trying to get stronger in the lifting gym. And that's in addition to, at the time, I was a full-time student. So a lot of times with wheelchair basketball and with Paralympic sport, and I know this happens with Olympians as well, not only are you training basically full-time, I mean, you could say that's a full-time job. You also either have to study or go to school or work because it's not a full-time job and a full-time pursuit for us. Unfortunately, that can help us pay our bills and live. So on top of that, I was a full-time student, partially as an undergrad student and then partially as a master's student. So it requires every single thing that you have. It's not, you can't just sort of, dip your toe into the water, so to speak, and say, I want to make a Paralympic team. And so, I'm just going to say I want to do it. Like, you have to put the time in. It is a fully realized effort. Every single day, every choice and every decision you make has to revolve around, is this going to help me become a great athlete? So it's a full-time job.
Can you lay out for our listeners and viewers about the rule set of wheelchair basketball, just some of the similarities and differences to other forms of the game? I feel nowadays there's so many forms of basketball out there compared to when I was growing up.
Mhm.
Specifically with wheelchair basketball, what are things from a new audience that they should be paying attention to if they check out a game?
Yeah, so I always say, like, if you love basketball, you're gonna love wheelchair basketball because you're going to see physicality, you're going to see speed, you're going to see talent, you're gonna see lots of scoring, you're gonna see great defense. So if you like basketball, you're gonna love wheelchair basketball. Everything is most everything is same about the rules. The court is regulation size, the basket's regulation height. We shoot from the same 3-point line, the same free throw line. So it all looks the same when you look at the game from an outsider's perspective. The strategy is a little bit different, purely because of the chair. The chair doesn't allow you lateral movement. So you have to be a little bit more creative with your chair movement. Obviously, we can't jump. So spacing is really important in wheelchair basketball too, like who can gain the most space on the court before your opponent does. So I would say those are some of the biggest similarities and some of the biggest differences. When you look at strategy wise, we do a lot of pick and rolls. There's a basketball podcast, so we know what a pick and roll is. So you'll see a lot of pick and rolls. You'll see a lot of one-on-one play, and then a couple of plays that are unique to wheelchair basketball. One is a seal play, which is just a way to get bigs inside the key and get your bigger players better shots. And then we have something called back picking, which is where you set picks kind of in the backcourt to create numerical advantages for your team. So when you watch it at first glance, it's going to look exactly the same. But then when you start delving into it, you're going to see some really cool nuances and differences that really do make it a little bit of a different game.
Are there any misconceptions of wheelchair basketball that when viewers of the game have that you want to clear up, or things that they may have in their mind that are not necessarily true when just watching the game?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think when we talk about disability, I think people have a certain image in their mind of what someone who is disabled looks like or what they can and can't do. I think fortunately now that's changing because the Paralympics are becoming so much more visible. I mean, we watched hundreds of hours of coverage on NBC of the Paris Paralympics, which is amazing. But I think sometimes we still have those misconceptions of disability of, that you're fragile or that there's a lot of things that you can't do. And everything is predicated by what you can't do or what you shouldn't be able to do because I use a wheelchair. I think that's the biggest misconception about wheelchair basketball is that it's not going to be physical. It won't be fast paced, that we're not athletic. And all of that, again, the first time you see the sport, you're going to see that none of that exists. It's fast, it's athletic. Players fall on the ground and you see them like just get right back up while they're still in their wheelchair and keep on moving in the play. It's high scoring. We shoot threes. So the first time you watch it, I think you're going to lose those misconceptions. But those are the reactions we always get, right? When I tell people I play or I coach wheelchair basketball, a lot of times it's like, oh, isn't that nice? It's, cool little hobby that you have. I'm like, no, actually, this is a sport. And if you jump in a chair actually too and start playing, you'll see how hard it is to push the chair and how much faster someone is who is actually trained for the sport and, has put the time in. So I would say those are the biggest misconceptions.
Can you discuss just the layout in terms of a fan wanting to get in to watch wheelchair basketball, just how it works from just a high school level to collegiate to international to professional? You
Mhm.
kind of list the differences and similarities in that in terms of, that they follow it from the collegiate level and they want to keep watching their favorite players from internationally and beyond. Can you explain how that works? Just in terms of the world of wheelchair basketball.
Yeah, so the world of wheelchair basketball, one of its other differences, I think, from other forms of basketball is that in high school, athletes don't necessarily play with their school, purely because of the number of people that play wheelchair basketball. And so oftentimes they play within club programs, which is, I guess, more similar to like European basketball, where you kind of come through a club system. It's a little bit more similar to that. I would say one of the other differences, though, when you look at trying to follow your favorite player or something like that, is folks have different entry points into wheelchair basketball. based on either when you acquire your disability or when you find the sport. It's a little bit harder to find wheelchair sports than it is to just kind of go to your local parks and rec and pick up whatever sport it is they have there. So, I would say it's a little bit more challenging from that perspective, from those two perspectives. But typically, there's a robust youth wheelchair basketball system that, if you've seen a player maybe that you enjoy watching play, more than likely they are being recruited by the college programs, the wheelchair basketball college programs. So you can follow them to those collegiate programs. Most college programs have ways to watch their games through YouTube. That's like probably the biggest way right now that we get exposure at the collegiate level and at the higher club levels in wheelchair basketball in the US. A lot of our games happen online. And then obviously, if you have a favorite player in college and you want to follow them onto either the international scene or the professional scene, which is really big over in Europe, then, the Paralympics, obviously, we're getting more and more coverage on TV now, which is amazing. And then same, it's more of watching online if you have a favorite player that goes and plays over in Europe. So, we're in a growing stage right now with wheelchair basketball as far as being able to watch and being able to invest in the sport. I would love it if we were on TV more to where, we were more easily accessible. I think that would be great to get more eyes on the game, but we're growing. We're building our platforms to where I think when LA rolls around, the sport will hopefully continue to explode and boom.
Yeah, explain that with the Olympics coming to Los Angeles. I remember in 1996 as how big of an event that was in Atlanta. What explain the impact of the Olympics being in America? And
Mhm.
it's going to be not only just in California, but all over the country too, with some of the different events. How important is that just to this athletics and in just the future of this competition in this country specifically?
Sure. I think one of the things that always happens around the Olympics and Paralympics is athletes and sports are invested in more. There's more eyes on you. There's more investment around you and your training and your preparation. Because when you host the home Olympic and Paralympic Games, you want to win, period, right? You want to win and you want to showcase your sport at a really high level. And so NGBs and organizations and the US Olympic and Paralympic Committee, they're going to invest in players and invest in teams so that hopefully by the time LA comes around, those teams are peaking and those athletes are peaking and they're ready to perform. And then once that happens, they perform and they win and they get medals, then that return on investment comes, right? For the USOPC, for those athletes, for those NGBs and organizations that supported them. So I think that's why it means a lot to athletes and NGBs is because there's going to be huge investment leading up to LA in a lot of different ways. And so being able to be successful and being able to get eyes on the sport continues then to move the sport forward and grows the sport, which then allows you to support more athletes, right, down the road as we then look towards the 2032 games in Brisbane and so on and so forth. So it grows the sport. It grows the sport from a sport level. And hopefully, what I personally hope it does is it then helps to grow the grassroots level of the sport to where we're helping out athletes who are going to make the team in 32 or 36 or 2040.
Can you talk about your experience being a coach compared to being an athlete? What is that transition like? Do you enjoy one or the other? Is it equal to you? What's that experience like for you?
You know what? It's different. It's different. I love them both equally. Um, as an athlete, I was super competitive, super passionate. I wanted to win. I loved my teammates. I wanted to win with my teammates. I loved just the journey and everything my teammates and I got to accomplish together. And that's on every single team I was on, whether it was at Illinois or on the national team. I loved being on a team and being a part of a team. And I think that's what I love about coaching is I get to continue to be a part of a team. It's just in a different way. As an athlete, you're kind of like in there as a part of the camaraderie with your teammates. You're a unit and you do everything together. You train together, you eat together, you just spend the majority of your time together. And it's a little bit different as a coach because you're a little bit removed from that core. While you're still a part of everything, you're a little bit removed from it. And so it was an adjustment for me personally to kind of wanting to be in that little tight-knit core of the athletes to like, okay, I'm still a part of the team, but I just have a different role now. and I have a different responsibility to help create the environment to where the team can be connected like my teams were, and to where they all feel like they can, bring all of themselves to this team. And when they do that, hopefully they're going to have these great experiences like I was able to have. So it's just a different way of being part of that camaraderie. And, I'm still competitive. Like I still, I kind of get that nervous feeling before every game. As the game gets going, I have to remind myself, like, Steph, you can't go on the court. Like you can't play right now. So you've got to channel that competitiveness somewhere else. But and it's just, it's really, really cool to be a part of another athlete's journey and someone else's journey, whether it's their journey takes them through college and then they go on and they start, living the life that they have, built the skill set that they want to live, or whether that journey takes them onto the national team. It's just so I value it so much being able to be a part of their lives during this time that, that now has surpassed, I don't know, the desire to be a part of the team and the core group. So I love them both. They're just different. I think coaching is a little bit more lonely than being an athlete. I think talk to any coach, they can say sometimes it's a lonely profession as you're preparing either from a collegiate level or for a Paralympic games. So it's just different. It's different.
That's very fascinating. You mentioned that. Is that just with yourself, or do you have a bond with your assistant coaches? I never
Yeah.
heard a coach put it in that way. I just figure there might be camaraderie with just other coaches in terms of what you guys are going through. But that's
Yeah.
fascinating. You say that.
Yeah, you know what? You do have that camaraderie with your assistant coaches. You are kind of a team within a team and a tight-knit unit, but you kind of feel like as a coach, trying to figure out the right way to word this, you're a little bit on an island. Like eyes are on you. And so all of your questions get or all of your decisions get questioned, and it's, did she make the right choice here? Did she make the right choice here? And you kind of feel like you're out there on your own saying like, I did the best I could in the moment with the information that I had. I thought I was putting our team in the best position to win. Um, and so I think it's just, you feel that a little bit more. Um, I would also say, coaches, when we look at it from a larger perspective, we don't get quite as much support as athletes do through the process of becoming a national team coach. And so there's been some really cool organizations that I've been able to be a part of where I've found family and I've found camaraderie and I've found connection with other coaches who may be going through some of the same stuff. While it is a pardon me, it is a lonely profession at times, what's really important is when you find those pockets of people that support you and that support your journey. Yeah, it's a little bit of I don't know, it's a wonderful profession and I love it with my whole heart and soul. And sometimes it's a very unforgiving profession.
Can you talk about, in terms of your coaching tenure currently, how the transfer portal and NIL has affected the way you coach? Does that pertain to wheelchair basketball at all? Because I've talked to other coaches, journalists. It seems to be a massive deal within college athletics. Are you experiencing that impact in your particular world currently?
You know what? It hasn't reached wheelchair basketball as much as it is touching non-disabled sport right now. So fortunately, we haven't had to deal with it on the same level as our coaching counterparts have. I've been in some conversations with some of our coaches here at Illinois, and it seems like a whirlwind to have to navigate. And I can't imagine having to navigate that right now. So, we do have student athletes who transfer, but we don't have a transfer portal. Our sport hasn't quite grown in that way to have that big of a portal. And I'm not saying it won't, it could. I think we're starting to have conversations and taking steps towards that, but we haven't necessarily gotten there yet. And the same with NIL. NIL right now doesn't impact where student athletes choose to go to college. That's not really a huge decision point for them. We've had some athletes who have pretty good NIL packages, but those have come separate from their experiences at college. Most of them have come because of their participation with the national team programs and stuff like that. So, it hasn't impacted us too much here, but it could happen at any point in time.
So as you reflect, as recording of this podcast, we're about a month out from the induction ceremony. With you and your teammates, what is it gonna feel like? It might be an unfair question, but have you talked about just everything that's gonna lead up to this ceremony? This is a pretty momentous occasion, a pretty massive honor. What kind of thoughts and feelings are going through your head as you prepare for this big moment for not only yourself but your teammates and coaches as well?
Yeah, it's so I've thought about it a little bit. I have goosebumps actually with you just talking about it. We're all so excited. This will actually be the first time our whole team will be there. It'll be the first time we've all been together in the same place since we were in Athens in 2004, if I'm not mistaken. So, we've all had small pockets of us together since then, but I believe, staff included, this will be the first time we've all been together. So we're all so excited. We have a group chat going, and people are just talking about, where they are now and what they're doing with their lives and where their lives have taken them. And I think that's been the coolest part about this, is to reconnect with some of my teammates who I maybe haven't stayed as close in touch with as some others, and learning what they're doing and seeing the impact that they're having on the world, and hearing about their families. And so it'll just be amazing to be with them in person, to just reconnect with them. The honor is amazing, and I will never discount that, because, like, to be in the same Hall of Fame class as like Serena Williams, like, that's pretty cool. um so that honor, it's huge, right? It's huge. And I'm just really excited to see everybody and to spend time with everybody and to hear everyone's stories, and to tell stories with them about, our journey to Athens. And maybe some of them I've forgotten, or maybe some of them my teammates have forgotten, or our coaching staff has forgotten. And we just get an opportunity to reconnect. So I'm so excited. I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to see everybody. I know it's going to fly by. So I'm going to have to remind myself to just stay in the moment and really enjoy all the time that we're going to have together.
And final question for you, with wheelchair basketball, where do you see the future of the sport going? Just in terms of professional leagues, investment. Right now, huge investment within women's sports. A lot of different streaming options these days that those need content. Where do you kind of see it going in terms of kind of the landscape of wheelchair basketball in the future?
I hope our trajectory is going the way of women's basketball right now. I'm a huge women's basketball fan, and it's been so amazing to see the sport, or all sports, and under, kind of the women's sports umbrella, to just see it explode. What I really hope is that folks start seeing wheelchair basketball as a legitimate sport to invest in, that it's not a charity, and that we're not something to be taken as like, oh, I want to support these disabled athletes. It's like, no, I want to support these disabled athletes because they're athletic and they deserve an opportunity to compete at the highest level. And they deserve an opportunity to have people watch them compete. And they deserve the opportunity to, be on TV, or, whatever that looks like for our sport moving forward, and whatever that investment looks like moving forward. And so, the folks now who you see investing in women's sport at a really high level, they're doing that because there's value in women's sport. They see the value there. And so what I hope is that as we move towards LA, and as we, are in the lead up to that, I hope that people start to see that there's value in wheelchair basketball, and they want to invest in it, and they want to help us grow the sport and make it bigger than it is right now.
Stephanie, appreciate the time. Thank you very much. Can you let our audience know where they can find you on social media, any upcoming projects, where they can catch the University of Illinois team as well, anything else that you want our audience to be aware of?
Sure, you can, on Instagram at Steph Wheeler 10. That's kind of all my handles. It keeps it really simple. Let's see, Illinois Wheelchair Basketball. We have a big presence online as well. It's just search Illinois Wheelchair Basketball, and all of our games are on YouTube at the same handle, Illinois Wheelchair Basketball. You can watch us play there, and yeah, watch the sport. That's my project that I have coming up, is just telling people, watch wheelchair basketball, and you'll fall in love with it.
Appreciate the time. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
for having me.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.